Hi, this is Michael Manasco, the Instructional Coordinator Librarian as well as the Business Librarian here at the University of Alabama in Huntsville's Salmon Library. So as the Business Librarian, I'm a point of contact for you regarding research that you might need to conduct in business, that will be that marketing, management science, economics, what have you. I can help you interface with our tools and locate data as needed. So in this video, I'm just going to be giving you a quick overview of our primary services and point you toward some of our tools on our website that you can play around with on your own, as well as how to contact me regarding developing search strategies and guidance on when to use some of these resources. So as far as transitioning to business research here, you do have a few different types of resources that are unique to College of Business students. Market reports, certain types of journals we have that typically aren't viewed by many disciplines, but for you all, you will need to know how to access those. So I just want to go over a few of our fundamental library tools, how to get to them, a couple of quick searches, and let you play around with those as needed. We have our Pathfinder Discovery Service, which is sort of a discovery catalog, a journal searching tool. It searches everything at once, most everything at once. Our databases are another point of access where you can select thematic tools, either for periodicals or databases that just have company reports in them. So more of a compartmentalized search. And we do have a journal finder tool, and that is helpful in this area of research, as you'll find many professors and many of your courses will require you to look within specific journals or magazines to do some research, or even newspapers to find material relevant to the assignment. Also, I want to give a couple of quick comments on evaluating some of the resources you may come across. And again, some of my recommended resources that are sort of the biggest ones, or the most relevant ones that you need to understand fundamentally. So a few things about evaluating sources. I will say within the UAH library, we do have a lot of access to a lot of great credible sources. But remember, within the library, well, we have access to a lot of things, newspapers, magazines, articles. Not all of those are what we would call scholarly. So one thing to keep in mind is that in some ways, the same old rhetorical analysis technique where you think about the rhetorical triangle, always thinking about when you're engaging in a website or an article or a book, thinking about that ethos, pathos, logos approach when you're understanding the rhetorical triangle. When you come across an article, can we tell the credibility of the author, the ethos? Who is publishing this? Does that grant credibility? The logos might be the presentation. Again, is it a peer-reviewed article? Is it something that's been scientifically written? And the pathos is who it's for, the audience. So you're going to find content that's academically written by very credible PhD or MBA holding professionals who are writing journals, as well as content that may be written by a journalist. So many of our databases will have content combined, but with filters that will allow you to sort for the kind of information you need. So typically you have three categories you'll need to be concerned with. Your more academic or scholarly journals. That's again going to be your peer-reviewed, evidence-based journals. Popular or layman sort of layperson titles. So that's going to be more of your magazines like Time Magazine. As well as the third category, though, in business, it's important to understand what trade journals are, or practitioner journals. You may hear certain professors refer to those as practitioner journals. Those are essentially inward-facing. Those are professional titles written by professionals for professionals. And I'll show you a couple examples of these in a moment, and we can help with that. So a few of the types of resources you may encounter, again, here's an example of sort of each of these categories, I would say. So you've got things like the Journal of Management and Organization, journals, an actual journal. Remember that no journal will ever call itself a magazine, but some magazines will call themselves journals, right? That term journal tends to indicate an academic publication. Not always, but it should. So something like the Journal of Management and Organization, that's going to be a source when you see a journal like that. That's going to be your peer-reviewed content, which we have a lot of that, of course, through our library. Then you have things like on the right here, you see this is the cover from Time Magazine, something like that. It's a magazine that's useful, but more for the public. In the middle here is sort of what we call that gray area. Titles like Marketing Week, Advertising Age, things that are not necessarily peer-reviewed per se, but are credible in a different way. They're more professional development tools. So sort of clicking over to a couple of these examples. So here's an example of through our website, finding through Sage Journals, for example. This article on employee dissent in social media organizational discipline. So, something like this might pop up in our Pathfinder searching or in our databases. The title Human Relations here. This is a journal. We could look at it closer and it would tell us it's peer reviewed and all that stuff. But looking at the article here, these types of things will have that standard STEM writing style, the AIMRD method of writing, abstract, introduction, methods, result, discussion. You'll see a familiar writing style, obviously through business and technical writing. This would be an example more of, again, a peer-reviewed journal, which you will find plenty of, again, through our tools. Something like this, though, you might encounter online or also linked through our services, something like Ad Age or Advertising Age, Market Monthly, that kind of thing. Pay attention to these as well. Don't discount them. In business, it's also important to stay up on the sort of inside baseball sources, as I call them. The titles that are written by people in your field, kind of speaking to you, speaking to other professionals. So these sorts of things are worth you looking at, but you do have to be careful at times when you're out here on the web. But I can, again, help guide you toward what we call these professional titles. Forbes is even, something like Forbes would be a good example of this, or workforce.com even. There are certain sources that are tagged as sort of professional in nature. So those are also valuable. So kind of jumping back to our resources, I'll give you a couple of tips here as business students to keep in mind. A couple of advanced searching tips to put into practice as you begin this sort of research in business. Whether you're on the web or in the library, it's good to start thinking about prioritizing what we call Boolean searching and parenthetical searching, limiting aside from just keywords, in other words. So for example, if you were doing a research project on learning about the benefits to outsourcing human resources, looking at an organizational issue, which some of you will do research on this. A good way to search that might be how I have here. I'm looking at keywords, outsourcing, and HR tech and benefits. Really thinking about Boolean terms are when we build relationships between terms. This and that and that. A better way would be to add in what we call parenthetical searching. So often this will be the case with any sort of acronyms or things you want to expand. If you were doing this search to really make sure you're finding the best business sources, you probably want to expand to these sort of parenthetical searches. Notice how I have HR or human resources in parentheses, and then I tack on these other things. And I've added some other synonyms and things to flesh out the search. This is a better search. It's going to do what we call concept searching and not just keyword searching. So think about that. Really sit and take time to brainstorm how to develop your own search strategies. And again, I can help with this sort of thing. And this type of searching is typically pretty helpful when you're searching on the web or in our tools. So getting into the library tools, there are typically 3 levels of access, okay? Our Pathfinder Search the Library tool, that's again sort of a good starting place. This is our, you might think of it as a catalog, but it's so much more. It's books, it's articles, it's a way to sort of get started, to find the best path you should travel, which database to go to next. It's where I would go to just get to information quickly. Now that second level is going to be the database level. And that for business transitions is important to know exactly where to go for your business, quote unquote, tools, company, industry reports, that sort of thing. And I'll show you how to get there. But this is where you would go for very multidisciplinary tools like Academic Search Complete. Some of you may have used these tools elsewhere or in another discipline, but we have multidisciplinary journals in these sorts of collections, but you may have something very focused like Business Source Premier that's going to be, again, you can tell by the name, it's going to be journals really focused on business, obviously. So think about where you're going, but that's why Pathfinder is a good place to start. And then, of course, journal searching, when you're not looking at the articles per se, but you're looking at periodicals. Sometimes you may be tasked to say, hey, I want you to go into the journal Human Relations, or look at Forbes even, or the New York Times, or any periodical searching really, where you go into the title and search, and that is something we can help with. So, a quick overview here of our website, uah.edu/library. Once you navigate here, just to get you toward these points of access, search the library. That's in the middle of the page. This is that Pathfinder tool, okay? You'll see it branded as such. It goes through around 300 plus databases that we subscribe to. It's going to search across those at once, so that can be good. It can also be a little noisy. in terms of search results. That's a good starting spot. Up here under articles and databases, this little tile, that's going to take you to our database selection screen, where you can focus a bit more and say, I just want to search within these journals and business, or looking up the specific title. So before I jump out to search the library, looking over to the left here, one quick point of guidance, there's a Get Help option where you can click here and go through a variety of places to learn more about who to contact next for what, finding guides and so forth. But for this video, we'll keep it simply to this sort of subject specialists here. If you click on specialists, you will see an option to get in touch with any of our librarians you may wish to speak with. You may do research that crosses over into multidisciplinary topics. You probably will. But this is a good way to remember how to get in touch with me, for example. There's my name, the phone, email, any of that, to see what disciplines we sort of work with primarily and see who you might want to speak with. So it's a way to get in touch with us. There's also an option for one-on-one research consultations where you can click there and you can read about kind of what we offer here. It leads you to a Google form which you can click on and send, and that will get to me, and we'll see about setting you up with a one-on-one. Essentially, it's a way to book time with a librarian, to talk to me perhaps if you wanted to book time to discuss developing a research project. So that's one way to use our website. So going back to the home page, I'm going to do a quick search here in our Pathfinder tool. Again, that big black search bar in the middle of the page. Once you resolve to the Pathfinder results screen, so I'm doing a search here on cognitive ability tests and employee selection, okay, sort of related to human relations, HR, right? So once I do that, you notice several results. Again, it's searching across many databases, many disciplines, probably fairly limited to business, but we're not sure. It's going to be kind of a noisy search, 28,000 results. So one way we can clean that up is to take advantage of the peer-reviewed journals filter on the left. You'll see this in many of our databases. This is a quick option to sort just for those academic titles. If you need journal titles, scholarly works, peer-reviewed, you see that's cut our results in half. So that can be good if you do need those. So often that's a great way to get to scholarly materials quickly, and you'll also be able to use these tools on the left to filter by date for more recent or older materials. Okay, that's another way to work with these results. As an example, I'll click on one of these articles. I'm going to refresh the page here. I'm going to click on the article, and you'll see it pop up like this. You'll get a little interface here where you can see a lot of tools that go with the text. So, for example, this does tell me it's peer-reviewed. Great. We know it's a peer-reviewed journal. If you scroll down, there is a toolbar built in that will also give you some options to cite the item in question. So for a lot of you, if you need a citation for an annotated bibliography or a report, just click citation, and you'll get an option to quickly get to an MLA 8th edition 7th, APA 7th, Chicago, and so forth. It's great for when you're in a pinch and just need to copy-paste a works cited page. If you scroll down a bit further, you'll see what database hosts the article. So again, this is sort of an aggregator tool. This tool searches across several databases at once, and it's going to say, hey, here's where you can view it online, and it shows you which database to go to. Often you'll see several options. Often that is just the case with some of our materials where we will host things in several databases and give you the option to link out and find it. And see here I'm at an EBSCO database, there's psych articles, there's the article, and I can just download the PDF and save it, right? So that is one way to use Pathfinder to quickly find an article. Notice if I scroll down further in the item, the item record, it will show me subject terms related to this item, so I could use those to help increase my search efficiency if I wanted to add those, and other data as well built in. And we can cover those in another time if you're curious, but this is the basic way to use Pathfinder. If you needed books or things like that, if we, for example, just wanted to do, let's do another search on business and business statistics, information systems, whatever you may search on, notice there are filters that will pop up for available in the library. That's going to give you options for books in print in the library. We do have those. On the second and third floor, you'll find most of our book collection. Many of the business books will be in the H section, you'll see here, HF, but not all of them. So it's good to pay attention to that to see where it's located, and then you simply click on the book, and you'll see an option to go get it on the shelf. If it's there, it'll tell you how many copies are available. In this case, case HF 1017 S75, we would write that down, navigate to the shelf, and you could go pull it yourself. So that's a good way to find books. I will also point out that if you use the filters under resource type to click show more, you'll see an option often for books or book chapters. Now if you click on books here, that's going to expand to the ebooks. So just keep that in mind. Available in the library is just going to be print books, but we do have several thousand ebooks as well, especially in business. You'll find several hundred titles, thousands of titles related to your topic as well. It's a way to view these ebooks online in Pathfinder. So navigating back to the home page, Pathfinder is just one of the tools, the Search the Library tool. The articles and databases here, I'm going to click on that, and this is what our database selection page looks like. It takes a minute to load, but once you're here, it'll list things A to Z alphabetically, so you could just navigate to these tools. Things like Business Source Premier would be under B, and you could find it that way. But one thing I would do as a business student is to go to Subjects here and scroll down and click on Business and hit Search. Now, that's going to broadly give me databases that are periodical databases like Business Source Premier, where I could search and find articles that way, of course. RIA Checkpoint, which is an accounting database, and things like S&P's Net Advantage, Morningstar, all of that stuff's going to pop up here. And these little blurbs will tell you what each database does. So I won't go into each one of these now, but again, if you're ever curious, please feel free to click on these, play with them, reach out to me, and we can talk about how to use those tools. But primarily, you'll see a lot of tools here to find periodicals, but some of them are not like that. Some of them are company reports. For example, Data Monitor is one of our company research databases where you will not find periodicals here. Rather, you will find parent company reports. So for example, if I looked up Adtran or Apple or Yum Brands, the parent company of Pizza Hut, for example, when you find parent company information in your research, this is a great tool to use to search on a company and find these nice PDFs that are updated every 2 or 3 months to the most current version and give you some basic and sometimes in-depth information about a given company, such as employees, business description, SWOT analysis. It can be helpful to get sort of authoritative strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, that sort of thing. Defined competitors, main products, important mergers, information from forums you might find online, such as 10Ks or 8Ks. So this is a great way to interface with company level research. Now, one of our better industry level tools, I will say, is IBIS World. So just a couple to keep in mind as you start your business research. IBIS World, again located under I here, is a great tool for industry or marketing level research if you're wanting to get a good view of key factors driving an industry, a bit of supply chain information. So you can search on a given industry or browse. Here's a report on coffee and snack shops, for example. Just about anything you can think of. You'll find a nice, robust report in here. So here's one from October 23, and it will give you these sort of nice options to download the report or just view them in sort of a tabbed format over here, where you can go through and get information on an industry at a glance. Usually nice interactive tables. Here's something on industry market share on Starbucks versus other companies. Makes sense. In the coffee industry, for example, right? Market share, key takeaways, drivers, competitive forces, anything you need. So IBIS World's a great tool to get familiar with industry level research. Okay. Otherwise, play around with these databases. You'll find a blend of periodical searching and company level reports. I am listing a few databases here you may want to keep in mind and explore further later, just to pull this up as a snapshot. Again, very discipline-specific databases. You might want to explore something like ABI Inform, Business Source, or Emerald Management, entire subsets of journals just on your discipline. We do have very robust multidisciplinary tools, again, like Academic Search Complete, ProQuest One. A lot of these tools where, again, through our databases, you can find these and do research that may cross over into other disciplines. But if you're going to stick with business, these three are pretty good entry points, okay? When it comes to company research, just to kind of leave this up here for a moment, when it comes to company, some of our better tools like Reference Solutions, Mergent, Morningstar, these are great tools to get information about either stock data, company data. Go to those resources, search around, look up company info, and see how they differ. It can be a little eye-opening to see what types of data you can access here at UAH outside of what you might call your traditional journal environment. We do have, again, when it comes to market research, we have tools like Statista. This is a tool that is great for, again, getting market trend information. For example, we could look up social media trends. Whoops, clicked on a bad link there. Branching out to get nice interactive reports on statistics, looking at industry outlooks, things like that. So for example, here's a report on TikTok, number of users worldwide projected through 2025. These are helpful when you're trying to put together these reports, looking at trends or projection data. Usually very interactive tools, and the great thing about Statista is that you can typically download these tools individually from the reports in the format of PowerPoint slides or PNGs, PDFs, what have you, so you can export these into your presentation. So just giving you a nice look at the types of sources we have here. All right, one other look here at our tools is the Journal Finder tool. So sometimes if you have an approved list of journals or magazines that you've been given, say I need to look directly within those, there is a tile on the home page called Journals, where you can actually search for the journal title itself and then search within that journal on different topics. So for example, this is what the page will look like. When you go to the journal page, search for the title, and then you can search within the title itself. So I'm going to jump out here, and on the home page, again, if you go from the first landing page here and click on Journals, you can search for those titles. So let's say I search for Journal of Organizational Behavior. Do a search. Well, here's a link to that journal. I can open it, and what's great is each journal will have a search inside box, and then you can just search on a given topic, and then what it's going to do is limit to just that title and pull out anytime those search words are mentioned. So again, it's a great way to look just within a journal or magazine or newspaper. You could look up something like the New York Times here, Forbes magazine, any of that, and go within and just do sort of a literature review of a given title. Very helpful when you're conducting that kind of research. Okay. A couple of pro tips about web searching as well, just as you get out there outside the library and try to do some searching. I recommend playing around with domain searching. So for example, instead of just doing a search on organizational bans on social media within the workplace, instead of just doing that, that's going to get you a lot of .coms, things like that. You can add domains, suffixes to the end of your search in a web search, something like this, site.org, site.gov. Those are great ways to sort your search. For example, you'll see here in a web search, now I'm limiting by nonprofits or other organizations, journals. It's a good way to practice your searching online for more credible sources. Another great website you might want to become familiar with is Samago JR. It's a great place to go to look up the credibility of journals. So for example, if you're ever curious and find a journal online, you're not sure if it's trustworthy, it's a great place to go search for your journal, and if you see it listed here in short, it's probably credible. So it's kind of a great checkpoint to say, well, it's listed here, it probably has some credibility here. So it's a great way to double check yourself as well. Okay, and those are my primary tips on web searching. If you're using Google Scholar, make sure a couple of tips on Google Scholar, just to kind of jump out here. I know many people like to use this tool. If you do, make sure you go to the settings at the top left here. Click on the little options, click on the settings, and click on library links. Okay, so settings, settings, library. You'll want to type in UAH, hit search, check the little box for UAH and save it. Now when you search, you will do a quick search here. you'll see a list of, sort of the PDFs and things you would normally see in a Google Scholar search, but you'll also see a View at UAH link. This is helpful in case these links go down or they're questionable. Some of these PDFs you have to be careful with, but the View at UAH will allow you another way to sort of log into our services. If you're off campus, it will trigger the single sign-on, and if you're on campus, it goes right to it. So it's another great way to discover resources at UAH. So that kind of covers most of our services in terms of our research tools. I hope it's helpful. Go back and play with some of these tools. Reach out to me if you want to book time to go over specific tools, if you want to learn how do I find the Harvard Business Review, things like that. I'm here to help you. So good luck, guys, and I look forward to meeting all of you. Have a good one.